Hey, hello. It's 4:20. Let's get high. So I want to say that as a result of these broadcasts, I've made 3 friends who are very active in this broadcast, as far as sending me questions, information, stuff like that. And my friend Carol and Elise, they're in Canada. And my friend Anton, he's in Germany. And Ilan, he's in Israel. And he sent me a notice about this psychedelic rabbi. Asked me if I knew him, and or if I knew about him. I didn't know him. I didn't know about him. But my response to him was, he's bringing the world into the Torah, and I'm bringing the Torah into the world. We're going in 2 different directions, so I really have no desire to know what he's doing. I'm not interested in doing that. And he asked me to kind of elucidate on that, so I will. So here's the thing. The Jewish people, and we've been around for 3,500 years. And we've built 2 temples. One temple lasted for 410 years before it collapsed really on its own. And Babylon came rushing in and took the people away. We were exiled for 70 years, and we came back and built another temple, which lasted for 420 years that Rome burnt down. So 420 certainly has to do with fire. And instead of firing up a joint, they fired up the temple. And God said, I'm all right. I'm pissed off at the Jewish people because they hate each other without a reason. So therefore, I'm going to send them out into exile. So one might ask, how is that going to help anything? You send the Jewish people into exile because they hated each other? How will that fix the problem? Because certainly a punishment should rectify the problem. And the answer is because when you're in exile and you meet another Jewish person and, it's just you against the world, and it's like, my brother, I love you. I don't have any reason to love you. It's called Aves Chinam. Chinam means free, like you hate a person, sin is chinam, you hate a person for no reason. Or Aves Chinam, you love a person for no reason. And that fixed the problem. But exile caused another problem. That living amongst the Christians, because they're the ones who destroyed the temple and took us away into exile, that we learned from them religion. And religion meant that the rabbis, instead of playing their normal role, which is to debate amongst themselves the different flavors and what's the word I'm looking for? Nuances in the law and in the story, and the books are just full of this. That's what we do as Jews. We just go into the Torah, and there's just so much in the Torah. Every word in the Torah is a name of God, and every word has 70 faces to it. So there's no end of of how far we can go in. For example, the letter Aleph. The first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is spelled Aleph, Lamed, Pei. And if you attach each one a number, then it's called the miloi, the filling, that the one is full of 111. And then you can take each one of those, and the aleph repeats that, but then the lamed is spelled out in a different way, and the pay is spelled out in a different way, like aleph, right? The pay, and those then give rise to all different gematrias. You go in and in and in till you come to to the source of all letters, which is that God spoke and the world was. However, that's not what I wanted to say. I mean, I wanted to say that. It's not what I was talking about. That's what happens. You get off the track and you forget what you're talking about. About the temple and burning down at 420, and how the rabbis took on religion. Because there is no dogma in Torah. The only dogma in Torah is the rabbis demanding that rabbinic law is just as obligatory to the people as it is to the rabbis. And this is the dogma. To place someone, I mean, up until that time, the rabbis were there. You could go ask the rabbi a question. The rabbi will answer the question. And we can learn from the rabbis. They keep the Torah in a very, very meticulous way. Beautiful. But we're not all made to do that, and we don't have to do that. I mean, God's not asking that of us. God's asking us to do the 613 commandments and the relatively simple laws that are attached to them. And if you want to do them better than that, you can go to the rabbis. You can learn how they do it, and you might want to take on some of their customs, but you don't have to take on their obligation. And that's where the rabbis made a huge mistake, and why now they're in bed with the church, and they're all playing the same game, that religion is the real seat of power, and a Putin is a very religious man. Tony Blair converted to Catholicism at the end of his fiasco. Of course, George Bush was very religious, and the prick down in Moco Loco, well, he's just uses everything. He couldn't care less. But because religion is just, it's just a pernicious, evil thing. And particularly, it's even for the rabbis to usurp their power like this, but even more so, usurp the power of the people, but even more so to make a coalition with the church and their story that the Jews killed God, who himself was Jewish and has decimated the Jewish people for 2,000 years. And to be at war with our Semitic brothers who have the Quran, which is prophecy just as much as the Torah is prophecy. There's only, prophecy comes from heaven. There's only one heaven. There's not like, an Islamic heaven and a Jewish heaven. Just like there's only one God. And one God doesn't mean top God, top religious dude. It means the creator who created a spirit. Without the creator, there's no spirit. To be praying to spirit is like you're praying to the stone. Nonetheless, if people have been fooled by religion, who just teach them, everything they teach is just false. And it's not just false, but it's deleterious to the human being, as much as science is with their Big Bang bullshit. And all of this stuff has to change. We will never change anything if we don't get down to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is really, religion and science and their dogma. Because the Big Bang is a dogma. It's just everyone's supposed to believe it, even though there's no proof to it. It's just an assumption which is extremely fatalistic and really bad for the human psyche, as is evolution, thinking that we somehow evolved out of an animal and somehow became a cogent human being, speaking our thoughts into words, which we don't find anywhere else. But these assumptions are assumptions by religion that God just created everything out of nothing, made it look like, it was something. That's just as stupid. It's like saying that God tricked us. Why would God trick us? God loves us, man. Well, would you trick your child into thinking that's something that isn't true is true? I mean, sometimes you do that just to, wake up the child, not to be too naive. But you wouldn't want to trick a child in something that's really important, like God, tell the child that, that the God who cares for us, is some spiritual being. Because all children, come out of heaven. And in heaven, it's very, obvious who God is. That God is not spiritual. No one would ever in heaven bow down to anything spiritual. Because in heaven, there's so much light, you can't do anything wrong. But here in the earth, it's not good. It's very easy to do things wrong. And that's why we have freedom of choice. Because we could easily do the right thing or the wrong thing. And we have to think, what do we want to do? Which is, it has a lot to do with our court system also. Are we looking for justice? Or are we looking for just us? These are all like things of Rome that has really, destroyed our world. It's just blanketed our world with this veneer of lies, just one lie after another. And when you has had enough with the religious lie, you go to science to find out the facts, and you get the scientific lie. So there's the person caught between the lie. What do you do? So what you have to do, you got to find someone who somehow stayed out of all this bullshit and tried to find what is true. And that's me, man. And I have worked on this for 50 years, and I have proven what is true. And my book's going to come out soon, hopefully in July, and is absolutely going to prove all these things false, and is going to demand that we change a whole bunch of things in the world. For example, that the ancients, they had names for all 9 planets, and they had names for the 7 continents of the world, and a calendar that ends in 220 years, bringing in 1,000 years of woman and 1,000 years of peace, and counted through a calendar which also they put their Roman stamp on, the year, the months, and fuck Rome. They have been really, really bad. And even though we might have a good president now, who is a good man, but he's still the head of Rome, and the Rome has, is just enough. Rome wanted to conquer the world, they did, and we see what Rome did with it. They just want to make more war and go out into outer space, and the whole thing, they don't care about the world. So the time of Rome has come, and the only way that we can actually show that is to take these things away. It's just ridiculous. We call the planets by Roman gods, and we call the months by Roman gods, and we establish our time according to the Roman religion, when their great Lord was born or died or some crap like that, because there's not a bit of historical proof that Jesus even lived. And he's a Jewish man. How do you take a Jewish man and say he's God and put him on a cross, nail him to a cross? That is just a racist act. And all these things have to be undone. There's just no way to fix any of these things. And I have well, thank you very much. I should I got myself off track. Anyways, thank you very much. And someone just wrote to me that they're helping to promote me, and I really appreciate that, because I think the things that I'm saying, no one would dare to say, particularly the rabbis who should be saying them. And so to get back to Elon's question, here's all this kind of a preface for it, that why is it that the rabbis are taking stuff from the world and bringing it into the Jewish world? Because they're trying to make a link with the world going in. And they have a way of doing this. It's been actually expressed to me by a number of very Haredi, Orthodox Jews who say the whole idea is we just look into ourselves, we take care of ourselves, and whatever, we do, we kind of throw it over our shoulder, the Goyim, the nations of the world, hey, they can have it, we'll give them a little bit. Yet, that's not what the Torah said to us, and it's not what God said to us, that we were to go out and to love each other. And there was another reason to go out, that the temple, because we all hated each other, so the light of the temple could not be broadcast in the world. So we should go out, and each one should be a temple with light coming out to the nations, not looking in. But again, this is another, rabbinic religious thing that has really hurt the world and has propagated Christianity by acknowledging that this false story is true. And this came to a head in 2003 when the famous anti-Semite Mel Gibson, should put him on the cross, made this story about Jesus. And all the rabbis, for the first time in 2,000 years, asked the rabbis, tell us the truth. You're Jewish, you were there. And none of them would. No one would say what we all know, that this story never happened. And right after that, we went to war, because 2003 was 5,763, and 63 is the number sag, which is the essence of the animal. And that's when we started this big 20-year campaign. They didn't call it a campaign. They called it what they did to the Arabs thousands of years ago, a crusade. And they destroyed the Middle East. They've destroyed Persia. They've destroyed, all these Islamic countries, because it was a crusade. It is a crusade against Islam, because someone who was Islamic, who was, it's interesting, bin Laden is mentioned in the Zohar. They call him Biladen, that he comes after the lion. He's the dog who comes after the lion and licks up the blood. And he's not even, really human. This is what the Zohar says about him. And he he took the stage when Clinton put the first base in Saudi Arabia, and he says, that's it. Because we provoke war. We're Rome. We provoke war. We don't have to be Rome. That see, what we need to do, the thing that will straighten out everything, because the problem is, no question, it's in America. America is leading this charge, and we need to have a revolution in America. And it's a very simple thing, a very simple way to do it, which will correct everything without disturbing anything. Very simple. Whatever we do has got to be simple. No long time idea. Long time ideas happen in the long term, but so many people have to suffer until it happens. And by the time it only happens is when all the rich people realize how they can, buy it. When they can buy and sell it, then all of a sudden, it's like marijuana. They put everyone in jail because that's the way they could make money from marijuana. And then when they saw they could sell it, then they made it legal. And now it's all always about money for these people. And a way to stop that, is that to understand that the Constitution, including the Second Amendment, is a marriage contract between the government and the Jewish people, and the American people, which are an immigrant people from all over this globe. And the time has come for a divorce, that we cannot live together. And even when you win the presidency, you go out there and you spend $1 gazillion doing it that could be spent on feeding our children, that instead you win it and you still can't do anything. So we want a divorce. And what happens in a divorce? Well, the mother, who is the Jewish people, are the American people, that we get the housing, and we get, so we can take care of the children. That's what always happens. You have to go to court. These courts are ridiculous, And I want to say particularly that cunt in the Supreme Court who had the audacity to go in for her hearing and to say in there that she believes that child, that birth, that life begins at conception. She is just being very open that she's bringing her religious views without any corroboration into the justice of this land. And she is causing abortions. This court, the only thing to really do with this court to keep it going, is to add 9 new judges who are all from the middle. And then the extremes, left or right, will not have, be able to take a majority. I mean, it's the obvious thing to do. And I'm so surprised no one suggests it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It makes a bell curve, and that's the right way, that you should have a Supreme Court. Anyways, so the rabbis, they take all this stuff in the world and they feed it to their people. And this was the reason for the rebellion against Greece, against the Greeks who had taken over Israel before Rome did and wanted to Hellenize everyone. And the Jews said, look, we got our own trip. We don't want your trip. We don't need it. We don't want it. And anyways, just through, all sorts of different reasons, that a lot of Greek stuff got into Israel, and a lot of Israeli stuff, Jewish stuff, got into Greece. And but to willingly take it in, to actually change the Torah with this stuff and start, acknowledging, Jesus as being some sort of God, to appease the Christians in Rome. I mean, it is really bad. We're the Jewish people. We are supposed to be lights to the nations. So that's what I do. I try to take the Torah and bring it to the people so they can break through the bullshit of Rome and really be able to, because America is this really, really beautiful country because we're an immigrant country, because every one of us come from somewhere else. Unless you're, a native person of this country, you come from somewhere else. And even the natives, they came from Russia. It's really this pristine land that we took it and we said we want a government of the people and by the people and for the people. And we didn't get that. And we didn't get justice. We got just us. And so this marriage has lasted some over 200 years, and it's enough. Thomas Jefferson, who himself in his writings is a very clear anti-Semite, but he says that America, he writes to the governors to don't have a heavy hand on the people, because without revolution, America will become owned by the rich people. So there's no question we need a revolution, and all we need to carry out this revolution is for the governor to say, and he can say it just with his pen, that that it's illegal to evict anyone from your house. Anyone who lives in a house, you can stay there. And everyone who doesn't have a house, we're going to put you in one. And we're going to help you to get well. This is our responsibility to our neighbor. Yahavta l're'echa kamoka. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. Love your friend as you. And we're all friends, all us Americans, man. We're all friends. We're all equal. We're all immigrants. We all come from somewhere. Some came earlier, some came later, some came with money, some came without money, some were good at this or good, some aren't good at anything, and we're all equal Americans, and we're supposed to take care of each other. And so, I don't know, at this stage in my life, I've just like thrown off all constraints. And I'm going to have my say in this world through my books and through the media and through anywhere that I can, because the only indecent thing to say in this world is goddamn. And that's just against even the 7, commandments of, God to all people. And the only reason we say it is like giving admission to the church that there is some sort of hell that you go to if you come to this world and masturbate once. Unless you can pay off the church, We could take all that money and they can buy kids to pedophile, I mean, and the whole thing is sick. And no one should give any money to any religion. They are all corrupt, and they place themselves between God and the human being. And we don't need them. And a good way to get rid of them, also in a very simple way, can be just done with the sign of a pen from the president, is to make them pay taxes on their property. They are the most the wealthiest entity in the world, owning more property than anybody. And on this the program where the PPP program, where they gave away all this money to businesses, to small business, they gave $1.5 billion to the Catholic Church as a small business. And if they can say goddamn, I can say fuck you. This is not America. This is not for Americans. These are people who want to America and send Americans back to the country they came from. Or in the words of the prick and Moco Loco, that we came, send us back to those shithole countries. Well, I think we should send him and his whole family to North Korea, be our permanent ambassador there. He can carry on his love thing with the dictator. I'm sure they get along just fine. Anyways, these little talks, they kind of go wherever they go, and this one went this way. I'm glad that people are listening to me. I'm very thankful for those who tune in, and you can send it to your friends. These are really important things that must be said in the world, and they must be said now while we're at the point where we can actually make this change in the world. The time of Rome is over. It ended at 2000, and the coming down of the towers, there was a majestic scene that, they don't show it, but that how the building fell. And the crown of the building was just sitting there in air before it fell. And it was the fall of Rome, the real fall of Rome. And we have to have enough guts to stand up and say we're not ruling our life by Rome. The whole Roman Western civilization is just one lie after another, as Bob teaches us that all the lies in the world, all the truths in this world just amount to one big lie. And that big lie is Rome. Their religion is a lie. Their money is a lie. Their armies are a lie. The whole fucking thing is a lie. And it's time that we stand up and really do the right thing. We don't have to there doesn't have to be any violence. We don't have to protest anything. We just have to do the right thing. Make sure that we all have a place to live. And if you don't have to pay the banks anymore, I don't care if you own it, you rent it, it doesn't matter. All the money goes back to the government. They get the money. We get the property. Fuck you. The last thing I want to say, in any love, well, I wouldn't say in any love. In many marriages, there's 3 stages to this, or relationships, let's say. There's 3 stages. There's the first stage where there's everywhere love. Everywhere you go, you want to have sex. Then there's bedroom love after you get to know each other better and, everything's not quite as so exciting. There's bedroom sex. And the last is hallway sex. That's when it's over. You meet in the hallway and say, fuck you. That's where we're at. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful, blessed, high day, and stay positive, man.